I never thought the life I built would be dismantled with a single envelope. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. When Jason handed me the divorce papers, his eyes were cold, clinical, like he was closing a business deal. I held the papers in my trembling hands, reading through the demands. Full custody of our 2 children, the house, the car, even the family dog. My breath hitched, but I looked up at him and smiled. "Okay," I whispered, signing the papers without a fight. Jason's eyes flickered, just for a moment. Confusion, maybe even suspicion. But he recovered quickly, gave me a polite nod, and left the room, already calling his lawyer as if I were just a name on his to-do list. He thought it was over. He thought wrong. I met Jason 12 years ago at a friend's birthday party. He was charming, ambitious, the kind of man who walked into a room and instantly became its center. I fell fast, and before I knew it, we were married. I gave up my career as a nurse when our first child, Lily, was born. Jason said he wanted his children raised at home, not by strangers. I believed him. For years I poured myself into our family, managing every detail. School schedules, doctor's appointments, meals, birthdays, soccer games. Jason built his medical practice, and I built our home. But somewhere along the way, Jason stopped coming home. First it was late nights at the hospital. Then it was weekend conferences. Then it was his assistant, Erin, 26, blonde and constantly calling. When I confronted him, Jason didn't deny it. He didn't even bother to apologize. "I need someone who's my equal," he said coolly, shrugging into his tailored coat. It wasn't a conversation. It was a verdict. I spent the next few weeks in a daze, barely sleeping. Every time I looked at Lily and Max, our 8-year-old son, a knot twisted in my chest. Jason wanted them not because he loved them but because they completed the image of a perfect life. One morning I found myself sitting in the kitchen, staring at the papers. My lawyer, bless her heart, kept leaving voicemails urging me to fight. But I had another plan. Jason didn't know I'd started recording him months ago. He didn't know I had videos of him drinking heavily, screaming at the kids over minor mistakes, and slamming doors until Lily cowered in the closet. He didn't know about the night Max called me from his friend's house, sobbing after Jason forgot to pick him up. And he certainly didn't know I had been quietly speaking with the parents of his patients. Parents who were furious over botched procedures, lost paperwork, and whispered lawsuits his hospital was trying to bury. No, Jason thought he was the only one holding the cards. The day of the hearing arrived. I wore a simple black dress, hair pulled back, no makeup. Jason sat across from me, laughing with his attorney, adjusting his Rolex like we were nothing more than a tedious appointment on his schedule. Lily and Max sat quietly with my sister in the back row, their small faces pale, eyes darting nervously between us. The judge glanced over the paperwork, ready to sign off. "Does either party have anything to add?" Jason smirked. "No, Your Honor." I rose slowly. "Yes, Your Honor. I do." The room fell quiet. Jason's smile faded. I took a breath, pulled out a flash drive, and handed it to the bailiff. "Your Honor," I said calmly, "I have evidence that concerns the well-being of our children." The judge raised an eyebrow, inserted the flash drive into his laptop, and began to watch. The first video played. Jason screaming at Lily over spilled milk, his face red with rage. The second, Jason berating Max for missing a soccer goal, his words sharp as knives. The third, Jason passed out on the couch, an empty bottle rolling from his hand. The courtroom was silent, heavy, suffocating silence. Jason's lawyer scrambled to object, but the judge held up a hand. "Enough," the judge said quietly. "I've seen enough." Jason turned to me, face pale, mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. I met his eyes, steady and calm. I didn't have to scream, didn't have to rage. I had waited, I had gathered, and now, in this room under these lights, I was stronger than I had ever been. The judge cleared his throat. "We will recess for an emergency custody review." Jason collapsed into his chair, hands trembling. I walked back to my seat, head high, heart pounding, feeling Lily's and Max's eyes on me. Wide, hopeful, proud. It wasn't over yet. But for the first time in years, it was my turn to lead. The courthouse hallway was cold, lined with families pacing nervously. I sat on a bench, hands folded in my lap, while Jason paced at the other end, phone pressed to his ear. Even now, he was trying to spin it. "I don't know what she's playing at," I heard him hiss to his lawyer. "She's not that smart, she's a housewife, for God's sake." My stomach tightened, but I took a slow breath and kept my face calm. Jason had always underestimated me. That was his first mistake. The judge called us back in. "Mrs. Carter," he began, "your evidence is deeply concerning. Until further notice, I am granting you temporary full custody. Mr. Carter, you will have supervised visitation pending further review." Jason shot up from his seat. "Your Honor, this is insane. She's manipulating you. She's bitter, jealous." "Sit down, Mr. Carter," the judge snapped. Jason's face turned a dangerous shade of red. His lawyer tugged at his sleeve, whispering urgently, but Jason shook him off, glaring at me. I didn't flinch. For the first time in years, I didn't need to. When the hearing ended, Lily ran to me, burying her face in my coat. Max wrapped his arms around my waist. "Are we going home, Mommy?" he whispered. I kissed his hair. "Yes, sweetheart. We're going home." Behind me, Jason was still arguing with his lawyer, voice sharp and rising. But his power was slipping, and he knew it. The next few weeks were surreal. Jason tried everything: calls, emails, expensive bouquets on the porch. His tone swung wildly between apologetic and furious. "You're ruining my reputation, Sarah," one message read. "Think about what you're doing to the kids." I thought about it plenty. I thought about the nights Max cried himself to sleep because Jason was too busy to come to his piano recital. I thought about Lily clinging to me after Jason stormed out over a burned dinner. I thought about all the times I told myself, "It's okay, he's under pressure. No more." My lawyer and I kept building the case. I tracked down 2 of Jason's former assistants. Both had signed NDAs, but one was willing to talk off the record. "He's reckless," she whispered over coffee. "I saw him prescribe medication without checking charts. He drinks at work. He was almost suspended last year. The hospital covered it up." I felt a chill run down my spine. Jason's recklessness didn't just hurt me or the kids. Could destroy lives. A month later, the final custody hearing arrived. The courtroom was packed. Reporters had caught wind of the case, thanks to a leaked malpractice complaint. Cameras flashed as we entered, and I kept my chin up, ignoring the whispers. Jason looked worn, shadows under his eyes, hair rumpled, hands twitching at his sides. His lawyer looked grim, shoulders tense. As the judge entered, Jason leaned toward me across the aisle. "You think you've won, Sarah? You have no idea what you've started." I didn't reply. I just watched as the bailiff called us to order. The judge turned to Jason. "Do you have anything you wish to present?" Jason's lawyer cleared his throat, but Jason cut him off. "Yes, Your Honor," Jason said, voice tight. "I'd like to request reconsideration. My wife, she's not mentally stable. She's been plotting this for months. Ask anyone." The judge raised an eyebrow. "My wife," Jason continued, gesturing wildly, "has been recording me, digging into my past, invading my privacy. Who does that unless they're vindictive or unwell?" I sat quietly, hands folded. "My client," Jason's lawyer said awkwardly, "would like to submit a psychological evaluation request." The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Carter, any response?" I stood, heart pounding. "Yes, Your Honor." I handed the bailiff a folder. Inside were letters. From Jason's former colleagues, from neighbors who had witnessed his outbursts, from parents at our children's school, worried about what they'd seen and heard. There was no smear campaign, just the truth. The judge read in silence. Then, looking up, he spoke firmly. "Mr. Carter, this is not a matter of your wife's mental state. This is about your conduct. Temporary custody is extended, pending a full investigation. Jason's face crumpled, mouth opening in a silent scream. For the first time he looked small. As we left the courthouse, Jason called out behind me. Sarah, wait. Please. Turn. For a moment, I saw the man I'd once loved, the man I thought I'd grow old with. But then I remembered the slammed doors, the sleepless nights, the cold betrayal. I smiled softly. Goodbye, Jason. That night, as I tucked Lily and Max into bed, Max whispered, Are we safe now, Mommy? I swallowed hard, kissed his forehead. Yes, baby. We're safe. But even as I said it, I knew the final chapter hadn't been written. Jason wasn't done. And neither was I. For the next few weeks, I lived with one eye open. Jason wasn't calling anymore. He wasn't sending flowers or pleading emails. He was quiet, too quiet. But the media wasn't. The malpractice stories had snowballed. Anonymous nurses, former patients, and even a junior doctor came forward with complaints. The hospital launched an internal investigation. Jason was suspended, pending review. At night, after the kids were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, staring at the glow of my phone as news alerts piled up. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt safe. But I knew Jason. He didn't lose quietly. One afternoon my lawyer called. Sarah, there's something you need to hear. Jason had filed an emergency motion, claiming financial hardship, requesting that I pay him spousal support. I almost laughed. The man who had called me a burden, a parasite, now wanted my help. My lawyer sighed. It's a stunt. But we'll fight it. The courtroom felt different this time. Jason looked thinner, his skin pale, his suit hanging loose. The confident man who once stormed through life now seemed hollow. He tried to paint himself as the victim. I've lost everything. She's destroying me. She turned the children against me. I just want to rebuild. But the judge had heard enough. Mr. Carter, the judge said firmly, this court recognizes the pattern of emotional abuse, neglect, and misconduct. Your request is denied. Furthermore, given the findings of the malpractice investigation, this court rules in favor of permanent full custody to Mrs. Carter. I felt Lily's small hand squeeze mine. Max leaned his head against my arm. Jason slumped in his chair, shaking his head in disbelief. The room was silent. Afterward, as I was gathering my things, Jason approached. For a moment I tensed, waiting for the anger, the threats. But when he spoke, his voice was small. Sarah, I didn't think you'd actually do it. I looked at him. Neither did I said quietly. But I did. Life didn't magically become perfect after that. There were still school runs, bills to pay, and quiet nights when the house felt too big. There were still moments when the weight of what I'd been through crept in. But there were also mornings when Lily ran to me, laughing, or Max beamed from the soccer field. And I remembered why I fought. I went back to school, picked up nursing shifts part-time. I rebuilt, slowly, steadily. Not for revenge, but for freedom. Months later, I stood in line at the grocery store when I heard a voice behind me. Sarah! Turned. It was one of the hospital board members. A woman I barely knew, but who had been part of Jason's world. I just wanted to say, she said gently. What you did, it was brave. You saved a lot more people than you realize. For a moment, I felt a sharp sting behind my eyes. But I just smiled. Thank you, I said softly. One night, as the kids and I sat on the couch, Max looked up at me. Mommy, are we happy now? I wrapped my arms around him and Lily. We're getting there, baby, I whispered. We're getting there. I used to think strength meant staying quiet, holding everything together no matter how much it hurt. Now I know the truth. Strength is knowing when to stand up, when to speak, when to walk away. The day I signed those papers without a fight, Jason thought he won. But when I spoke in court, the room fell silent, and that silence became the sound of me taking my life back. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.